Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Hetvi, and in this video I'll be discussing how you could go about constructing a good personal statement. Now, somewhere on the screen now you'll find a timeline which can allow you to navigate across each of the subsections that I will discuss throughout this video. Beginning with a brief introduction as to what a personal statement is, followed by looking at how personal statements can differ between a college and a university application, and then finally to summarize off with will be techniques that you can use in order to improve your personal statement. So without further ado, guys, let's get started in today's video. So one may question as to why it is that personal statements are so important. And usually for those of you that are planning on applying to further studies, you will require a personal statement, whether that's for college or university application. Because for any institution that you apply to, besides your name and your student ID, they don't really know who you are. They don't know your drive, your passion, your motivation in studying that course or studying at that institute. And it's through your personal statement that they can gain a bit more insight as to who you are. And that is why you should really try to sell yourself when you're writing a personal statement, right? Draw on your strengths. What skills have you gained from your work experiences? That's extremely crucial. And that is why it's extremely important that when you're writing your personal statements, you're able to draw onto those things that you've experienced and developed and those skills that you've been able to gain. It's very crucial for you to also understand that there is somewhat difference between a college personal statement and a university personal statement. And the difference usually origins from kind of what it encompasses, right? Besides the core content of a personal statement that is to, reflect on those skills, those work experiences, right? Whenever you're writing a college personal statement, you also want to incorporate something about the institution that you're wanting to study at, right? What facilities do they have, or something amazing about the institute that you find very admirational and that, is what draws you into applying to that institute and what you can bring to that institute. That's extremely crucial. Whilst when you're talking about university personal statement, it's usually tailored towards a particular niche, particular subject or course that you're wanting to study, right? Your drive, your passion, your motivation in studying that course. What skills have you gained? What work experiences have you gained that is relevant to that particular course? And it's reflecting on those elements is what is crucial when you're constructing a personal statement that is tailored towards a university that you're wanting to apply to. And one thing to really bear in mind with both of your personal statements, whether that's for a college or university, is that you will usually have a word limit to stick within, right? And so it's very crucial that you're really allowing yourself to really portray your motivations, your desires, your passion towards studying that particular course or to be within that particular institution. Many universities tend to actually have additional documentation that they want you to complete and kind of, send to them, where they question your interest towards studying a particular course or studying at that particular institution. So what is it that draws you to study at that institution? That is where you have the opportunity of really showcasing your knowledge of that institution and what you admire about that institution. I wouldn't encourage you to, put much about the institution itself in your personal statement, simply because you don't have that many words to play with, right? If you do want to, of course, that's up to you. But I would rather stick to kind of reflecting on my experiences and my skills and kind of my motivations in studying that course rather than to discuss about the institution itself. But of course, it's your personal choice, and you might want to, have draw a sentence or two discussing that institution or what you like about that institution or what you can bring to that institution. Now, the one thing I will state is that whenever you're writing a personal statement, always draw back to kind of, the core skills that you've gained and how those skills can be useful for the course you're applying to or that institution that you're applying to. What can that provide you? That is what will set you apart from those other candidates. Now, often during open days, one question that I've always religiously been asked is how to construct a personal statement that can really, increase your chances of getting into your desired course or your desired institute. And the best advice I can give you with that, is coherent with what many of the professors and the lecturers agree with, is to be reflective when you're writing your personal statement. So, really try and sell yourself by, focusing on those work experiences that you've had. What were you able to learn, gain, develop from those work experiences? What skills were you able to showcase? when you were performing those work experiences or those hobbies. Those work experiences can either be virtual or they can be the physical work experiences you've had. Please do bear in mind that universities do recognize that during the pandemic, not many candidates had the opportunity of having physical work experiences, so they are accrediting virtual work experiences. So, what skills were you able to develop from that? What was it about those experiences that you've had virtually that motivated you into pursuing that course, right? So you've got to always be very reflective of these things. And the best way I'd go about constructing a personal statement is to first and foremost brainstorm of all the work experience you've had, whether that is virtual, physical, or even your hobbies. Reflect on your hobbies. What have your hobbies allowed you to have gained? What skills were you able to develop from those hobbies? Once you've brainstormed those work experiences and those hobbies, I want you to jot down what skills you can associate to that work experience, to that hobby. Now, once you've jotted down the core skills, I want you to start drawing interlinks between your work experience, your hobby, and those skills. So what I mean by this is that when you're constructing your personal statement, I want you to use certain instances or events that happened when you were performing that hobby or that work experience that allowed you to showcase how those skills had been drawn, developed, used, whether that is, time management, leadership skills, being able to work under pressure. Use those instances to really develop a portfolio of yourself that can showcase you being capable of being part of that course or being part of that institute. That is what will allow you to outshine the other candidates. Now, one thing that often many candidates will overlook is the importance of minor details like punctuation, spelling errors, and the flow of your personal statement. It's extremely crucial that you're focusing on these elements as well, right? Because the admissions team can often tell and separate students that have spent time writing their personal statement against those who haven't. Now, as lousy as that can be, that can determine whether or not you get into that course or that institute. So really focus on these minor details as well, right? Make sure that you have the correct punctuation when and where it's needed, and know when and where it isn't required, right? Know the difference. Make sure that you have full stops when and where they're needed, capital letters at the beginning of sentences, right? Use terminology that you're able to understand. That's extremely crucial, right? Don't use complicated terminology or sophisticated terminology that you do not understand, right? So stick to terminology that you're fairly familiar of and you know when and where to use them. And if you do want to use terminology that is sophisticated or, is complicated, make sure that you have learned, when and where it can be utilized. So be sure that you're familiar with, how it can be appropriately used to ensure that, it gives your personal statement that boost rather than to complicate it and make it confusing. Because at the end of the day, the reader has got to have been able to have understood your personal statement to determine whether or not you are apt or capable of being enrolled into that course or to be part of that institute. So I'd stick rather to simple, less complicated sentences and terminology for as long as I'm able to get across my point and really sell myself. Then, using complicated terminology, long-winded, complex sentences. And whilst we're on this topic, I really do want to mention, which I should have mentioned before, is please, please, please make sure that any work experience or hobby you're discussing, you're being very honest and truthful about, right? Please, under no circumstance should you be using terminology that is not true or that you've not really gained an experience of. Because if your application was to progress and say you were to, gain an interview, many institutions, and depending on what course you're doing, right, the interviewers will, speak of your personal statement, right? Will question you on those experiences to gain a bit more insight of, what it is that you've gained from them. Why is it that you thought they were important for you to mention in your personal statement? So please don't try and, add work experiences or hobbies that you don't really practice or that you haven't really experienced, because they will be able to tell when you're lying. and it will play against you. So it's best if you don't try and make up experiences, right? Now, before I end this video, I just want to say is don't sell yourself short, right? Every experience counts, and I'm sure there's something that you've gained and learned from those experiences. So really be reflective on those experiences. That is what will count at the end of the day. And also, of course, be truthful in your personal statement. So that is it for this video, guys. I really hope you've gained something out of it. If you have, guys, be sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon right next to it to make sure that you're regularly updated. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care. Bye.